learnings, transformations. And then our first pairing begins. Each of us is matched with one other participant, and then we'll be moved into a breakout room for conversation and connection one-on-one. On the slim possibility that your pair is a last-minute cancellation, you match with someone else, which may take an extra moment or so. And whoever, maybe mute if you haven't muted yet, just to kind of help keep the background down. Thank you so much. So following this first pairing, we'll come back together for a minute or two, a quick 2-minute break before we'll move into our second pairing. And once that pairing 2 completes, we'll join together as a group again for a brief closing remarks. And meanwhile, if you have any questions at any time, throw them into the chat, which is at the bottom of your window, and you will get an answer. Before we hear from our 4 wonderful panelists, one more item to share, and it's our community's new Hanukkah Give the Gift initiative. And through this Give the Gift initiative, each of us has the opportunity to impact Metro Atlanta's children with what we consider a priceless gift of Jewish belonging, Jewish community, and Jewish pride. We can give the gift in one of 3 ways. First, and it's not necessarily rank order, but the one of 3 ways is to PJ Library, which is a low barrier connection point to Judaism. PJ Library not only sends Jewish themed books to over 5,300 Metro Atlanta kids every month, but it also engages families through localized and now with the pandemic virtual programming and micro grants to run their own neighborhood holiday programs, thereby building community within their neighborhood. Second, to Overnight Jewish Camp, which is a proven predictor of future Jewish involvement and commitment to community. Federation's Jewish Camp Initiative provides needs-based scholarships and grants to first and second year overnight summer campers who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to experience summer camp, thereby impacting their lives forever. Just for some perspective, in summer 2019, our summer camp initiative provided $870,000 to 593 unique campers. And for this coming summer, Federation and our summer camps are anticipating extraordinary needs of nearly $1.4 million due to the economic impact of the pandemic. And third, we can contribute with gifts to both PJ Library and Overnight Camp and help build deep and strong connections to Judaism and to Jewish community. So with Hanukkah beginning tonight, we hope each of you will consider dedicating one of the 8 nights to tzedakah, and keep in mind our Hanukkah Give the Gift campaign to connect a child to Jewish community, Jewish belonging, and Jewish pride. And please be on the lookout for more information via email and Facebook. Now, finally, to our program. I'm going to begin by asking our panelists in alphabetical order to briefly introduce themselves. First, Amy Fox, followed by Emily Sanders, Lori Kagan Schwarz, and Stacey Shapiro. And I know my ABCs. So I'll turn it over to Amy and we'll go forward from there.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. It's so amazing to see so many incredible women who have served, many of you have served as role models and mentors to me, and you know who you are. So thank you. My name is Amy Fox. I started my career in major gift fundraising in the nonprofit world. I left the workforce to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm the proud mom of 18-year-old boy-girl twins who are seniors in high school. And I was fortunate to be able to use my skills to transition into being a lay leader at, in particular, at the Epstein School for many, many years, and currently at Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta Women's Philanthropy. I recently re-entered the workforce, and I'm currently the Navigating Parenthood Coordinator at Jump Spark, Atlanta's Jewish Teen Initiative.
Okay, Emily.
Good afternoon. Great to be here. So I've been in Atlanta now for 41 years, and I'm Emily Sanders. Currently, I'm a vice president with Goldman Sachs here in Atlanta. And after a 2-decade corporate career in New York and Atlanta, I became an entrepreneur and started my own investment management firm in 1994. The following year, I became divorced and was a single parent of 2 elementary school children, and that was a real turning point in my life. My firm was actually sold twice, once to United Capital in California, and then again last year to Goldman Sachs. I'm happily remarried to John Margolis for the past 25 years, and we have 4 beautiful grandkids.
Thank you, Emily. Lori?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Kagan Schwarz, and as Lisa said, I have the honor of serving as the co-chair of the Federation Board with her. After a career in marketing and strategic planning, among other things, I've really spent the better part of my past 18 years, aside from raising and living with my wonderful family, I've been using my marketing and my business expertise, leveraging it in the nonprofit world.
Thanks, Lori. And Stacey.
Thank you, Stacey Shapiro. I am born and raised here in Atlanta. I'm a product of the Epstein School, Woodward Academy, went to University of Michigan for undergrad and ultimately ended up back in Atlanta. I did my PhD in organizational psychology at Georgia Tech, and I am now, since 2008, a consultant with Russell Reynolds Associates here in Atlanta. And to bring things full circle, I'm also a parent now at the Epstein School. I have 2 kids, Avery and Ethan, who are 7 and 9. So hi, Miss Kathy, I see you.
Thanks, Stacey. As I listen to these 4 backgrounds, just thrilled, first of all, Stacey, that you chose to come back to Atlanta. Glad to have that native Atlantan and that the other 3 have made Atlanta home. I think what we're going to do is start broad with a couple of questions and then move into a few specifics. And Emily, I'm going to start with you. What is one of the biggest obstacles or challenges you've faced, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, well, I alluded to it in my introduction, Lisa, but it was in 1995 when I became a divorced single parent of elementary school kids. And my late ex-husband moved out of the country for work within a few months of that. So I was really on my own. And how I overcame it was I stayed out of debt. I had to be mother and father to the children, and had to become the disciplinarian because previously I was the softie. So I had to, get a little stronger with them. And I also, at that time, became an entrepreneur and started my own business so that I would have more flexibility of working from home. Back in the 90s, there wasn't all this remote work like there is today. It wasn't as well accepted. So I started my little company in a spare bedroom and, just took it from there.
What great attitude and approach. And I have the privilege of actually knowing your daughter. And I would have to say you did great work. And I know she's going to be a great mom too.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Transitioning maybe Stacey as the most youthful on this panelist, how might you answer this? What is one of the biggest obstacles or challenges you faced, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so somewhat similar theme around balance and family. Hard to pinpoint a specific moment, challenge, obstacle. I think it's really been around just the overall complexity, the stressors of trying to find that balance, work, family, friends, community, all of that. For me, that balance has been navigating a demanding job, a lot of travel, trying to be present as a wife and a daughter and a mother and a friend, an engaged member of the community. So I think just trying to find that balance has really been a series of challenges over my time in the workforce, and how to overcome that. I think it's a constant work in progress. put your head down, get through it, get through those really tough moments, be hyper organized, plan as much as possible, pick your head up, reflect, figure out what you'll do differently when you're in that situation again, and give yourself a little bit of grace. I think that's been my saving grace, is giving myself a little grace when those bumps inevitably come to pass.
Okay, so this we did not plan for. Stacey, can y'all hear my person in the background? All right, hold on one second. I'm so.
We can make funny videos about all the Zoom complications, issues, problems that people have. I read something yesterday. Someone said they didn't want to be the person that people had to remind, you're muted or you're not muted. That was their goal for their day.
Certainly part of the 2020 memes that we're seeing.
Yes.
I am so sorry he usually comes in the afternoon, but thank you. This is how we respond and react and take care of things unexpectedly. Stacey, your response, when I went and reviewed what so many of the attendees today are interested in, it really does tie back to the balancing, and yours too, Emily. And we're going to come back to this again, I have a feeling, depending on time. So thank you so much for that. Amy, you're up next. What do you know now that you wish you knew then, whenever then was, or you could pick your 20-year-old self?
That's a great question. I think that I would probably tell my 20-year-old self not to be afraid to take risks and to make mistakes. That it's sort of the mistakes that make you who you are and give you that grit. And that's how I try to think about my own kids, which is so incredibly difficult to let them make mistakes, but I'm really trying. And I guess I would also tell my 20-year-old self to just be kinder to yourself. Just give yourself a break. Just don't be so critical of yourself. Love yourself. And
yes, it's just love yourself. And great perspective and advice. And Lori, that's going to bring us to you. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
I thought about it a few different ways. First, and while it sounds trite, the whole idea of life being a journey is something that it took me a little while to embrace, but I truly have, and realized that, well, I had all these plans, and the way I had laid it out exactly what I was going to do, when I was going to get married. I was definitely one of those people. That it's the turns and twists that, made it all mine. And I would tell myself, don't get stuck. Don't, plans change. And I do really now believe, even though I've heard it before, that there's a lot of different paths you can take, and they might take you different places, but it all takes you to, most of them take you to good places. So that was one thing. The other is definitely about mentors. And that's what today's all about. Seek out mentors. And it's something, I think when I was, coming of age and in the business world, it wasn't talked about so much like it is now. Now we're cultivating them and all, but I think seeking them out, and a lot of people, I've been so shocked, I haven't even recognized it when people have, basically offered their mentorship. It took me a little while to realize they were doing that, but seek it out, accept it. When we all need someone to serve as sounding board, to guide us, and really just to be our biggest fans. And they come from all over the place, in the business world, the nonprofit world, in your family. And then the last thing is just find things you're passionate about. I learned, I guess, the hard way, if I don't have the passion for it, I just can't get my head or heart into it. And I've stuck with that since I've learned it. I've stuck with that, and
it's great perspective and advice. And, in terms of mentors, I think we could all take a moment to think about it. It's not necessarily just one who have been the mentors in our lives. And as we watch our children grow, who will become the mentors in their lives. Thank you. Moving to specifics for a few minutes, Emily, would you characterize the financial industry as male dominated? And if so, how does that affect you, and how has the industry changed over years?
Okay, well, I would definitely characterized the financial services industry as male dominated. And even today, only about 18% of people in my position are female. And it's one of the things that I learned is it's probably helpful to watch football and know some of the plays so you can talk about them on Monday morning. But that aside, not much has really changed in the last few decades. There have been laws that bolster women in the workplace, and now there are some progressive companies that, like my own, Goldman Sachs, that won't launch an IPO unless there's a woman on the board of directors. NASDAQ last week, one of the stock exchanges that is run by a woman, just said that all companies that are listed on their exchange have to have at least one female and one minority member on their board. But it's still a lot of lip service, unfortunately. I hate to sound jaded, but speaking of passion, I've devoted my whole life and career to helping women, be financially secure and have equality. And I have to say that, we have made some progress, but there's still a long way to go.
Thank you, Emily. And for all of us listening, I think that we as women can continue to take this responsibility on, and those of us with daughters, encourage them to continue it's not a fight, just continue the conversation and demonstrating. Looking at unique challenges of women in the workplace from another vantage point, Amy, what advice, you left the workforce, you came back, what advice would you give to someone looking to re-enter the workplace after leaving to raise children? And what are some of the biggest differences that you found upon your re-entry?
Okay. First and foremost, I encourage any stay-at-home moms to absolutely own that title. There's nothing more sacred, and there's no job that's harder than being a mom. So also, I think really enjoy every single second with your kids, because it goes so fast, and before you know it, they're going to be off to college, like mine are next year. So my advice to people who have left the workforce to raise children is to try to keep your skills honed through volunteer work, and to continue to educate yourself and continue to network within your field of interest. There's so many nonprofits who are really looking for strong lay leaders, and this is a great way to dip your toe into the possibility of going back to work while also supporting something that you're really passionate about. Also, take advantage of as many educational and networking opportunities as you can. Like Lori said, our community offers an amazing array of possibilities. Personally, I've taken advantage of so many programs. I've done Melton, I did Leadership Epstein, I went on the Frank mission to Poland and Israel, like also Stacey did as well. And now I'm currently a third-year fellow in the Wexner Heritage Fellowship, which is a cohort of 20 people. And there are many people on this call who also, Lisa and Lori, who are also graduates. And that's a deep dive into Judaism and leadership. It's phenomenal. It's such a gift that this community has given me and to so many others. And I also last year participated in the Jewish Women's Fund Agents of Change training, which was phenomenal. And through those opportunities and my volunteer work in the community, I have met the most extraordinary people who have really served as mentors and role models for me. So when you're ready to re-enter the workforce, these relationships and the networking opportunities that they provide will really be invaluable to you. And also, don't be afraid to pivot and consider changing your career path. I found my current job by following my passion and using my experience as a volunteer community organizer. And then in terms of re-entry, I will say that it's really about setting your priorities and the balance in your life. But for me, I'm at a wonderful stage in my life where my kids are now adults and they really don't need me as much. And I need to let them be themselves and do their own thing. You know, getting back into the workforce has been such a gift, in particular during COVID. And to be able to have peers that I work with who are so supportive, and working for an organization that I'm so passionate about, it truly is a gift that I'm grateful for every day.
And we are very grateful for you every day. So thank you. Great, great perspective and advice. Stacey, segueing from some of what we hear and building upon it, you're a mom, you're a professional, and you still make time to volunteer with Federation, Jewish Educational Loan Fund, and Camp Twin Lakes. Can you just talk a little bit about the synergy between your work life and your volunteer life, the synergies?
Yeah, I think that has been, this notion of synergy has been key to balance, this overarching theme that we've touched on, because it is really hard if everything sits in a disconnected bucket in your life to get it all done. And so for me, part of being able to be broadly involved, but also feel like I have balance, I have time for myself, I have time for my family, you know, time for community, time for friends, time for work, has been this notion of synergy. And so for me, in the work that I do with in my professional life, which is really around leadership and executive coaching, talent development, organizational culture, succession planning, really thinking about where are ways that I can broadly apply that to the volunteer work that I do. So that has looked like helping organizations think about their staff, their talent, thinking about culture. And so through committee roles and board roles with Camp Twin Lakes, helping to coach some of their leaders on the side, being involved in some of the HR people committees across various organizations has really, I think, it's where my passion is, but it's also my ability to bring my professional expertise to my personal life and my community engagement in a way that helps connect the dots and feel like that synergy, which really, I think from a time management standpoint, helps quite a bit.
Connecting those dots, it's true. Thank you so much. I feel like we could go on, and I've got a list of many more questions, could go on for maybe another hour or two, but we respect the timetable here, and it is now time for our first parent. Circle back, I want to, speaking of time, respect the 1 o'clock, and just wrap this up by saying thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed your 2 pairings and learned something, regardless of your role as mentor or mentee or just friends or anything else. Speaking personally, mine were exceptional, and I was a little nervous going into it and absolutely loved it, and am inspired by the 2 people I had the good fortune to meet. Amy, Emily, Lori, and Stacey, thank you so, so much for sharing your experiences and wisdom. Both of my pairings indicated they could have listened to each of you for an hour, and there's just so much to share and learn, and we'll continue to do it. I'm excited to invite you to the first ever Propel Pitch, which is a virtual competition of Jewish Atlanta innovation, recognizing that these wisdom pairings fell out of the innovation initiative, and that's scheduled for January 14th at 7:30 p.m. Where community members and grantee supporters, in partnership with a panel of luminary judges, will evaluate and award funding of up to $100,000 to the most innovative and impactful ideas in Jewish Atlanta. So spread it around. If you know some people who have these ideas and are just needing the resources and support, we're here to help get them started in funding. Registration is now open, and you will get a link with our follow-up note. And lastly, please be on the lookout in your email and Facebook for our Hanukkah campaign to give the gift. And please consider making a gift of tzedakah to connect a child to Jewish community through PJ Library, the Summer Jewish Camp Initiative, or perhaps both. Happy Hanukkah everyone, let those lights burn brightly and warmly with your family, and be safe and stay well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Yael.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to say this is our first ever Women's Philanthropy Wisdom Pairing. So we are very excited to help further build our women's philanthropy community and those connections. We hope to see you at future events. Please stay tuned. We have some great things coming up with Project Dignity in January, and a really exciting event coming out in February that's about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I'll leave that there. I just want to say thank you so much. It was great to see you.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Everybody. Bye, everyone.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Lisa.
Bye, everybody.
Seeing
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Be
Bye,
well.
everybody.
Bye, everybody. Be well. Wonderful.
Happy Hanukkah.
Very much.
Lisa, you did great.
Everybody was wonderful. What great stories. Lori, the time we ran out, the specific question, I figured if I was going to